Hi, my algebra kids. How are you guys doing? Hope everything is well for you. We are trudging along. We are done with week 1 of remote learning. We're going to start into some new concepts in chapter 7. But today I just wanted to do a really quick review of 7.2, which was factoring using GCF. Okay, if you're still confused about this concept, it's super important that you contact me. Most of you guys did pretty well on the quiz. What I would suggest after we do this review, if you're still uncomfortable, find some other books in the problem. You can redo the quiz. You can't actually physically redo the quiz because it's a Google form or a Google quiz, so they won't let you do it again, but you can always just do it on a piece of paper, okay? So factoring by GCF, remember, I don't know if you remember because it seems like eons ago, but factoring, I told you guys, is kind of like the opposite of multiplication. It's like the polynomial's version of division. So when we're factoring, one of the things we look for is a greatest common factor in our polynomial. So if I start off with something like 2x squared plus 4, I'd have to look and see, is there something common between the two terms? This is term 1, this is term 2. I look right away and I say, oh, the GCF of this is 2. What that means is I can factor out or pull out a 2 from the equation. So what I'm going to do is put my GCF here. And I'm going to set up a pair of parentheses. Okay? I'm going to take each one of these terms and divide by 2. So 2x squared divided by 2 leaves me with x squared. And then 4 divided by 2 leaves me with 2. This is the factored answer. Okay? So it's twofold. When you have GCF, you're trying to find, first of all, the GCF, and then you're going to divide everything by that GCF. Okay? Let me see if I can find another example we can do together. Okay, so if I have something like 8x to the third minus 4x squared minus 16x. I want to factor this. Right away, hopefully something should jump out at you and say, oh geez, those are all divisible by 4. So if I look at my numbers, 8, 4, and 16, they're all divisible by 4. Does everybody agree with that? Hopefully the answer is yes. Now, if you look at the terms, they all have an x with it. So the greatest number of x's that each one of those have is this 1x here. So our GCF is 4x. Okay, this is just info you need on the side there. So I'm going to take 4x and I'm going to divide every term by 4x. So 8x cubed divided by 4x is 2x squared. Okay, now be careful. Whatever the sign is, you're going to drop down. 4x squared divided by 4x is going to leave me just with one lonely little x there. And then the last term, again, negative, so be careful, is 16x divided by 4x is leaving me with 4. Okay? Now, and I failed to mention this in the previous example. If you're not sure if your answer is correct, how can we check it? You can, this is the answer, so make sure you know that this is the answer. But you can check by distributing the 4x to each of these terms, and if you end up with your original problem, then you did it correctly. Okay? So that's like a really quick crash course. I know there was factor by grouping. Let me do one of those examples too. That way you have an idea. Factor by grouping can only work if you have 4 terms. Okay. okay? If you have 3 terms, you can use GCF if it's available, or you can use the thing we're about to learn in 7.3. If you have 2 terms, you pretty much have to use GCF unless it's a special case. Again, we'll get to that later on in this chapter. But if you have 4 terms, you have to either look for GCF or you have to group. So if we take an example of 6h to the 4th minus 4h to the 3rd plus 12h minus 8. All right. If I look at that, I notice that, yeah, they're all divisible by 2, but also the last term doesn't have an h. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to separate these into 2 different groups. So it's going to be group 1, and this is going to be group 2. Okay, if I look at just these 2 terms, I know that they have a GCF of 2h cubed. So when I factor 2h cubed out of just these 2 terms, I'm left with 3h minus 2. Okay, now I'm going to focus on the second set of terms here. I'm going to drop my plus sign down. And if I look at these 2, the biggest number that they're both divisible by, or their GCF, is 4. So if I take 12h and divide it by 4, I get 3h. And then 8 divided by 4, I get 2. Oh boy. Now look. This is super cool because what do you notice? The stuff that's left in the parentheses for both of these is the same. So I can further pull out this 3h minus 2. This 3h minus 2 is like the GCF for like the whole problem essentially. So I'm going to move that to the front, 3h minus 2. That means I'm dividing this whole thing by 3h minus 2 and this whole thing by 3h minus 2. So when I divide this whole thing by 3h minus 2, what am I left with? I'm left with 2h cubed. Sorry, that's not the best marker. And then the second one, when I divide by 3h minus 2, I'm left with 4. So this is your answer for factoring by grouping. Okay, I hope that helps a little bit. Like I said, if you're still kind of stuck on this, I would maybe try some extra problems, set up a Zoom conference with me. You know, keep practicing. You can find stuff on Khan Academy. I know you guys don't like that too much, but might be worth it just to get a little bit of extra help. Okay, thanks. Have a good one.